This class is concerned with action planning, and we start by looking at what action planning is. It's a process which focuses on the achievement of specific and well-defined goals over a given period of time. So it's a process which focuses on the achievement of specific goals over a given period of time. And it's a plan in order to achieve those goals over that period of time. The plan should specify the steps or tasks that are necessary to achieve the stated goal. So the plan outlines all of the various steps to be taken and looks at problems, issues, solutions. It anticipates what may go wrong, the appropriate course of action, and the plan lists all of these, and the purpose is to achieve the goal within the set time frame. So, likely steps in an action plan. Well, first of all, identify clear objectives and make sure that they are both achievable and measurable. So there must be the objectives must be achievable. If they're not, the whole exercise is a waste of time. It's pointless trying to achieve something that can't be achieved, putting it simply. And also it must be measurable. You must know when deadlines are reached and when certain outcomes are required and what the outcomes are, and it must measure up. It must be in accordance to the plan. The required steps should be listed and prioritized, and care should be taken to ensure a logical order and a complete list. So the plan should prioritize what needs to be done. The most compelling bits, the most urgent bits of the plan must be achieved perhaps first. And there must be a logical order. If some part of the plan depends on some other part of the plan, then we have a logical order. One part must be achieved before the other. It's important that they are prioritized. There must be a logical order to the completed list. And also estimate a realistic time for completion. It's a nonsense to set a timescale which is not realistic. It'll cause frustration and annoyance. It will lead to issues with the people involved in the plan. It'll cause frustration and perhaps end the project itself. So a realistic timescale is essential. Attempt to make accurate estimates of the resources required for the project. Guessing may not be the right answer. Try to do some research in advance and make realistic estimates of the time and resources required to complete the tasks. Don't guess, don't just make it up. It's important that realistic figures are entered. Again, to avoid frustration and recrimination at the end if targets are not achieved. If decision nodes are encountered in the plan, then branch to other plans that are compatible with the routes in the decision. In other words, when working on the plan, if a decision is required and the decision has several possibilities, do A, do B, or do C at this point, look at the compatibility of the various options and look at the resources required for each of them and which one is likely to fit best with the plan. Don't rush the decision. It's important that the correct course is taken. A decision has to be made as to which route to take. Make sure that the route selected is the most appropriate. In the event of the plan failing, develop a backup or contingency plan, sometimes called Plan B. But if the plan fails, what's the backup? What happens next? And it may be worthwhile having a second plan, a reserve plan, one ready in the event of the first one failing. The second one can be put into play. Now let's look at the scope and benefits of action planning. The act of writing down ideas makes them less abstract and more achievable. So action planning is a good idea. It takes the plan out of your head and puts it onto paper. It makes it somehow more objective. It makes it less abstract. It's out of your head and on paper. So an action plan is a good idea for that reason. A good action plan gives focus and direction and is more likely to achieve the desired outcome. So if the action plan is written down and it's logical and it's clear and it follows the points we've mentioned earlier, then it's more likely to be the case that it will achieve the desired outcome, because issues and problems will have been anticipated and solutions found, and the whole plan is realistic in terms of its timescale and its resources, so it's more likely to succeed. The plan should identify obstacles and impediments and ways of overcoming these. As I said earlier, it's important that the plan identifies issues when it comes to implementation, but it anticipates them at the planning stage so that solutions can be found, remedies can be found, if you like, in advance. In other words, when this happens, the following will happen as well. The following will be put into play which will solve that problem. In other words, the plan anticipates future problems and solves the future problems. There may be ambiguity about the final goal. It may be the case that several goals need investigation. In this case, an action plan should be produced for each goal. So sometimes people don't know what they're aiming at. They're aiming at several things. Or they may be aiming at one big goal and have lots of sub-goals, sub-categories they need to achieve as well. Well, in that case, each one of them will require an action plan. Each one of them will need to be thought out in advance. And the advantages of doing that is, as I said earlier, problems may be anticipated, issues dealt with, a very smooth delivery program is derived out of the action plan. An action plan may be produced for all practical goal-orientated decisions. In other words, action plans can be done for most practical goal-orientated decisions. Decisions which have a goal. They're trying to achieve something, and they're practical. They involve doing things. They involve the use of resources. They involve the combining of resources, perhaps. Action plans can be done for these projects. So it is something that is practical and can be done. Action plans may be applied to a wide variety of tasks. It can be applied to almost anything, as I said earlier, but if you go to buy a computer, you would have a plan. How much are you going to pay? What is the specification you require? What's the warranty on it? And so on and so on. You will have an action plan to visit certain shops and go online and look at certain sites, and you'll have itemized all of the steps be taken in buying the computer. Likewise, if you're going to become a teacher, let's say, what's the action plan? Well, you need certain qualifications, you need to be able to do certain things, you need to have certain competencies and a certain personality perhaps. You need to do a recognized course in qualifying to be a teacher, etc., etc. So there's again an action plan. If you want to travel the world, you need an itinerary, work out costs, work out the route, work out issues, work out problems that may be encountered, medical problems perhaps, or travel problems, money problems, whatever. An action plan would be useful. Or if you just want to improve your grades at college or at university, an action plan. Set aside time in the week for revision, set aside time in the week for project work and teamwork and individual study and individual projects and essays and reading, lectures and seminars and so on. Just set out the action plan, set out a timetable for the week which becomes the action plan. This is what will be done in the following week. And if this program is delivered, it will improve academic grades. So it can be applied to just about any situation that's practical and that has a goal at the end. We can look at a small model that's been developed to illustrate action planning. First of all, we have the initial current state, a critical and frank position statement of the initial current state. So it's important to be honest right up front at the start about the current state. What is exactly the predicament that the planner finds him or herself in? What situation are they in? What is the current situation? So that must be stated. Next, the aspirations. What is desired? Make sure it's realistic, achievable and measurable, but state the aspirations subject to those conditions, subject to them being realistic, achievable and measurable. Then state the aspirations. What is required? Then what's the modus operandi? How is it going to be done? How will the various courses of action that are possible be brought together to achieve the overall objective? How will the resources be combined? How will work be initiated and progressed to achieve the final goal? So how will it be done? How will it be delivered? What methods will be used? And then instigate the changes to bring about the desired outcomes. Put the modus operandi into action. The plan shows what the final goal is. It shows the current state. It has a modus operandi to achieve the final goal. So put it into play, put it into action, and that's where the action bit fits in. And then as you work through the action plan, analyze the outcomes in the context of the aspirations. Is the plan delivering the aspirations? Make sure that the aspirations are being delivered, because that's the whole point. The whole point is to move from the current state to the state that is required or desired, the aspirations. So when the action is being put into play, make sure the action is delivering the aspirations. So if it's not, go back to the aspirations. Perhaps the aspirations were not realistic as first assumed, or perhaps there's something wrong with the action, or the modus operandi is defective in some way. Go back, critically look at the whole plan to make sure that the action can deliver the aspirations that were required. In terms of the practicality of doing it, just set out a plan, give it a title, and give the steps, the objectives, the date when it's going to be completed, and some sort of reward, i.e., for example, if the plan is to achieve better academic grades, set out the steps to be achieved, and if they are achieved by the completion date, the date set or the time set, have a reward, relax, enjoy a film or phone your friends or go on the computer or whatever you do. Relax. It's been done. So a title plan may be filled out. The objective is to purchase a small car, for example, for urban commuting. That's the objective. Now, research online the various car models available and give it a date. That research should be finished by the 30th of March. At the end, reflect on it. Give yourself a period of reflection. Think about which one. The second part of the plan could be consult friends, family and colleagues about their opinions. Do that by the 5th of April. And then reflect. Think about what they said. And also think back to what happened in the first step with the research online. And then complete a list of findings. The model, the basic new price, the efficiency of the car, the tax group, service charges, the standard equipment that comes with the car, and give yourself a date for that, say the 15th of April. And work your way through the plan methodically, as suggested here, until finally you get to the 6th of May when you purchase the car. If it's career planning, well, so the objective is to gain admission to study accountancy. You want to be an accountant and you want to study accountancy. The first part is research the requirements for qualifying as an accountant. Go online, check it, go to the library, check out what the accountants' bodies require, which one's most suitable for you. Is it financial accounting or management accounting or whatever it is? And give yourself a date to complete, 30th of March. And then say, okay, I'm having 2 days off now to do other things and relax a bit. And then go back to it and say, I must produce a resume, a CV. It must be my current CV, and you do this by the 5th of April. It must be completed by the 5th of April. And then you give yourself a day off and relax again and see your friends and go to the cinema or whatever you do. And then step 3, identify appropriate educational institutions to study. Make a note of the fees, the pass success rate and the admissions requirements. Do that by the 15th of April. And so on and so on. So you're working your way through the plan methodically. Each step is taken out and made clear, and so that you are adequately prepared for each step. You know what's involved, you know what the issues are. That's all we want to do with action planning in this session. It's important as a practice, not just for students but for everyday life, and many of us do it automatically, even almost without thinking. But in the case we've set out here, we're making it obvious and we're making it objective. We're asking you to take the plan out of your head, write it down, make it methodical, make it logical, prioritize it, make sure the goals are clear, what are the aspirations, what's the current state, where do you want to be, etc., etc., just as I have listed out in this talk. But that's all I'm going to do on this subject right now, so we're going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.